session, where we're going to continue with the review of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Please sit back, relax, as we learn something very, very powerful tonight. Yes, tonight's review is mind-blowing. I mean mind-blowing. All right, so tonight we're going to be reviewing chapter 6, which is titled Imagination, the Workshop of the Mind. And this is the 5th step to riches. We all have imagination, right? So we can relate. The imagination is literally the workshop wherein are fashioned all plans created by people. The impulse, the desire is given shape, form, and action through the aid of the imaginative faculty of the mind. So everything comes to shape through the power of imagination, through our thinking faculty. It has been said that we can create anything that we imagine. If you can imagine it, then you can create it. And that is the truth. This is no theory. We have discovered that our own brain is both a broadcasting and receiving station for the vibration of thoughts. And we are beginning now to learn how to make practical use of this discovery. Start making practical use of your imagination. Your only limitation lies in the development and use of your imagination, and that is the truth. We all have the power to imagine. We all have minds, to think and to develop great things. But then the limitation comes if we do not put this to adequate use. There are 2 forms of imagination according to Napoleon Hill. It says that 1, we have synthetic imagination, and 2, we have creative imagination. Now, what is the difference between the 2? Synthetic imagination comes about when you make use of your imagination based on your previous experience, your education, your observations, and all of those things, which is normal, is general, is very, very basic to everybody. Once you have heard something or you have learned something, you have experienced something, then the tendency is there for you to start thinking along the lines of those things. But the second one is creative imagination. And this is now where a lot of people lack the good use of their imagination, as in to take it the extra mile. Creative imagination comes through the faculty of creative imagination. The finite mind of humankind has direct communication with infinite intelligence. Good evening, I welcome you to the live stream. It is the faculty through which hunches and inspirations are received. It is by this faculty that all basic or new ideas are developed. Not everybody makes use of their creative imagination. And that is because an average human being is lazy. We don't want to think outside of the box. We don't want to do any extra thinking that challenges us, right? So we'll just settle for synthetic imagination, just stay in our comfort zone. If it stresses us, we really don't want to go there. But then great success cannot be attained without putting our creative imagination to use. In tonight's review, we're going to learn about 3 great men who put their creative imagination to use and who achieved greatness, as in they did extraordinary things, right? So put your imagination to use, whether your synthetic imagination or creative imagination. The only way it can work for you and bring the kinds of results, the kind of success that you desire, is to put it to use. Let me read what the author says here. It says the creative faculty becomes more alert, more receptive to vibrations of the causes mentioned, right? Indeed, both the synthetic and creative faculties of imagination become more alert with use, just as any muscle or organ of the body develops through use. If you always sit still in one place, you rarely move around, maybe from your sitting room to your car, from your car to your office, you don't exercise your muscles, what happens to you? You begin to have body ache. The same thing happens here. Just like organs of the body, you must put your creative imagination to use. Anything that you do not put to use becomes redundant. So the author is saying that the faculty does not die. Our brains do not die. Our imaginations do not die, but they can become redundant if we do not put them to use. This statement is significant. Ponder on it before continuing. And keep in mind as you follow these principles that the entire story of how one may convert desire into money cannot be told in one statement. The story will be complete only when one has mastered, assimilated, and begun to make use of all the principles. There are 13 principles to riches in this book. The one that we're learning tonight, imagination, is the 5th step to riches. Right. So put your imagination to use. Desire is only a thought. It is only an impulse. It is nebulous, it is ephemeral, as in it is abstract. It is not tangible. It is of no value until it has been transformed into its physical equivalent. If you desire that, you should go to Texas in America. It is a desire. Everybody can have that desire. But how many people will actually, say, let me gather money for flights. Let me book my ticket. If you are not an American citizen, you don't have an American visa, okay, let me go and apply for visa. And then you book a date. And then thankfully you are granted the visa. Then you make up your mind that you're going to go, in spite of the fact that the situations around you do not, encourage you to go. So everybody can have a desire. Everybody has the desire to be rich, isn't it? I desire to be rich. I'm sure you desire to be rich as well. But at best, it remains a desire if it is not translated into riches, into money that you can actually spend, not money of the spirits, not money of the mind, not money by faith, physical money that you can actually spend, right? Transformation of the intangible impulse of desire into its intangible reality of money calls for the use of a plan or plans. We've talked about great men who put their desires, their thoughts, their ideas into plans. So it is also not enough to have a desire. What is your plan to make sure that that desire becomes a reality? What business do you want to do? What value do you want to offer? What do you want to sell? What service do you want to render? Do you want to go to school? There must be a plan. How do you want to do it? In how many years? So here's an instruction. Read the entire book through. Then come back to this chapter and begin at once to put your imagination to work on building a plan or plans for the transformation of your desire into money. Start making plans. Maybe you need to write a business proposal. Maybe you need to register that business. You need to pay for that course. You need to start reading books on how to sell. There's this book that is coming to my mind now, How to Sell to Nigerians by Honorable Akin Alabi. Very fantastic book. If you want to read a book like that, you are not good at selling. Right? So you need a plan. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. So here's the instruction again. Detailed instructions for building plans have been given in almost every chapter. Carry out the instructions best suited to your needs. Put your plan in writing if you have not already done so. The moment you complete this, you will have definitely given concrete form to the intangible desire. Fantastic. Read the preceding sentence once more. Now let me read it again. Detailed instructions for building plans have been given in almost every chapter. Carry out the instructions, very important. Carry out the instructions. If we really want to partake of the sound principles and let them work for us, we must follow every instruction in this book. So carry out the instructions best suited to your needs. So yours is going to be different from mine. Put your plan in writing if you have not already done so. The moment you complete this, you will have definitely given concrete form to the intangible desire, that desire that seems abstract. At least you've taken the first step to write it down, to say, yes, I'm going to be looking at this. This is going to be you know, um, um, spurring me on towards my goal. As you do so, remember that the moment you put in writing the statement of your desire and a plan for its realization, you have actually taken the first step of a series of steps that will enable you to convert the thought into its physical counterpart. Everything that exists was created. Everything. From the moment God created the heaven and the earth, that He said, let there be man, let there be the waters, let there be animals, let there be trees, let there be sun, let there be day, let there be night. Everything was created. So yes, you are now engaged in the task of trying to profit by nature's method. You are sincerely and earnestly, we hope, trying to adapt yourself to nature's laws by endeavoring to convert desire into its physical and monetary equivalent. You can do it. It has been done before. At least so far, we've read the testimonies of men and women who did it. This is not a time to say easier said than done. Has anybody done it? Yes. So you too can do it. I too can do it. You can build a fortune through the aid of immutable laws. But first, you must become familiar with these laws and learn to use them. Through repetition and by approaching the description of these principles from every conceivable angle, the author hopes to reveal to you the secrets through which great fortunes have been accumulated. Strange and paradoxical as it may seem, the secret is not a secret. It is no longer secret. And I want to tell you this, based on this book, that you were once a cell. Let's take it from the point of biology. If you, a tiny cell, then could become a human being, then let your imagination run wild. That any tiny idea that you have in your mind can become something tangible, can become generational wealth. I want our minds to be open right now. Please let there be no limitation. I'm sure since we've been reviewing this book, if you have been joining the reviews regularly, by now there should be a burning desire in your mind. There should be that idea that you earnestly cannot wait to give birth to convert into its physical reality. You should have that by now. There should be that burning passion in you, because I have it. And that is only when you can start seeing the kind of money that you desire. I was still thinking to myself this morning, that why do people cheat and scam and kill for money? That money is just a tool. Money is a servant. Unfortunately, people become slaves to money because they don't understand that money is just a tool. They're supposed to have money and send it on errands. Imagine people becoming slaves to an ordinary tool because they don't know the principles that govern the acquisition of money. You may not acquire all the money that you need in one day, but it comes by you believing that you can actually acquire it. You have a job in your hand, you have a business you're doing, you have ideas, you have your creative mind. You're a person of value, you're a selfless person, you always want to serve other people. Let me tell you this, money is going to come because money flows in the direction of value. But people kill and maim and cheat and scam for it because they don't want to offer value. They want a shortcut, but there is no shortcut to success. The kind of money gathered through that means cannot even be left for their children. Their children will squander it. They cannot sustain it. Because are they going to become armed robbers or cheat or killers like their parents for that money? So it is not sustainable. There's an adage in my language, Yoruba language, that says, and there is a part in this book that talks about it. I don't want to jump, I will get there. So settle in your mind that money is just a tool. Because I have settled this in my mind long ago, that I am not going to engage in anything I am not going to be proud of because of money. Imagine money will make you go to hell. Money, ordinary tool, as in ordinary tool. It's just a paper that we exchange for value. That's all. Or maybe we'll call it a special paper that is, recognized. A means of exchange. I hope you get the message here. Do not be discouraged if you do not fully comprehend all that has been stated, unless you have long been a student of the mind. If you have not been engaging your mind, you have not been, thinking, putting your thinking faculty into practice, you may not fully grasp this. It is not to be expected that you will assimilate all that is in this chapter upon a first reading, but you will in time make good progress. So it's okay if you don't understand everything yet. All right, let's look at the first fantastic story of this chapter. How to make practical use of imagination. Ideas are the beginning points of all fortunes. Ideas. Ideas are products of the imagination. Let us examine a few well-known ideas that have yielded huge fortunes, with the hope that these illustrations will convey definite information concerning the method by which imagination may be used in accumulating riches. If you can think about it. And God, there are so many ways to get money, right? And I must confess that this book is opening up my mind to great opportunities. And I'm so thankful the day that I decided that we should start the Intentional Readers Club, because I also did not have I didn't have an idea of the kind of possibilities that awaited me and everybody that will show interest in this, right? But ever since we've been reading, I can say this, that I've been kind of restless. In my mind, I've been kind of restless with the kinds of ideas that have been popping up on my mind. I've been documenting them. In fact, I am implementing one very soon. I am actually working on it, and I'm just very excited. Let me not spill the beans, but I am so excited, right? I bless God for the day that He also dropped the idea of this reading club on my mind. Yes. So the first story is titled The Enchanted Kettle. It is a very interesting story. So many years ago, an old country doctor drove to town and on his horse. So he went quietly. In fact, he tiptoed into a drug store. He went through the back door, actually, and then he started speaking in hushed tones to the drug clerk. His mission was destined to yield great wealth to many people, but this doctor did not know. Even this drug clerk had no idea of what that meeting that made the doctor to come in through the back door was going to yield to generations upon generations. None of them had an idea of what was coming. So they talked, and after a while, the doctor went out and came back and then brought an old-fashioned kettle and a big wooden paddle, not a paddle, like a turning stick, used for stirring the contents of the kettle, and deposited him in the back of the store. So more like was doing everything secretly. He didn't want people to see him. He didn't want other people, apart from the drug clerk, to know what he was doing. And when he did this, the clerk inspected the kettle, reached into his inside pocket, took out a roll of bills, and he gave the doctor $500 as of that time. And that was his entire savings that he gave to this doctor. So the doctor, in return, wrote something on a piece of paper, the instructions for using the content of the kettle, and gave it to the drug clerk, right? So the author says that the words on that small piece of paper were worth a king's ransom. But the doctor did not know. Even this drug clerk did not know that fortune was being birthed on that particular day. All that the doctor wanted was just that $500 to pay off his debt. And the drug clerk also was hoping that, hey, hope this kettle and its content and the instruction, hope everything is going to yield great fortune for me. But then he acted, used mixed the content of the kettle following the instruction that the doctor had given unto him, but then he mixed something else with it that even the doctor did not know about. And you know what? That mixture created and still creating generational wealth. The mixture became a popular drink that you can find in virtually every country of the world today. There is no country of the world that I have visited that I did not find that drink. This particular drink has created jobs for people upon people. It has created jobs for all kinds of people. It has created jobs for the sugar industry, for sugarcane farmers, for artists who will design the label, for people who make bottles, factories who would make bottles that this drink will be poured into, for so many people who sought employment. Even in the time of Great Depression in America, this country did not fold up. It kept on waxing stronger and stronger in profits. Can you guess the name of this drink? In fact, the author said that he met his wife on this particular day when he was having this drink somewhere. Let me read it. The author is sure of at least one such romance, for he was a part of it, and it all began not far from the very spot on which the drug clerk purchased the old kettle. It was here that the author met his wife, and it was she who first told him of the enchanted kettle. So the author says that this is not an Arabian story. It is not a fairy tale. It is not a story from Arabian Nights. Here you have a story of facts, stranger than fiction, facts which began in the form of an idea. When companies and factories were folding up, this drug clerk has now converted this drink, the content in that kettle, into something that yields, yes, because it's still yielding. And I love this drink so much. It is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. Nobody up until now knows the secret ingredients in Coca-Cola. In Nigeria, there is something called Biggie Cola. Apologies, but I won't say Coca-Cola and go for Biggie Cola. This is just me, right? This is to say that some people have tried to see if they can imitate Coca-Cola, if they can duplicate it. But for me, I don't know about it. If it is not Coca-Cola, it is not Coca-Cola. There was a time I was addicted to Coca-Cola. I had to break myself from it that no, I'm not going to be addicted anymore. And thank God, I am no more addicted to Coca-Cola, but it is addictive. As in, The name of this drug clerk is Asa Candler. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. Asa, A-S-A, Candler, C-A-N-D-L. C-A-N-D-L-E-R. He mixed with the secret formula, his imagination. His imagination. Probably he didn't follow the exact instruction the doctor gave him. He felt, okay, if I mix it this way. Or maybe he added something else to it. His own secret formula that even the doctor did not know about. That is the power of imagination. Remember also that the 13 steps to riches described in this book were the media through which the influence of Coca-Cola has been extended to every city, town, village, and crossroads of the world. Any idea you may create, as sound and meritorious as Coca-Cola, has the possibility of duplicating the stupendous record of this worldwide thirst killer. Truly, thoughts are things, and their scope of operation is the world itself. Now, let's read the second story, titled, What Would I Do If I Had $1 Million? That is the title of this night's review. If you check the thumbnail, he got $1 million in 1 week. All right, this is the story of Frank W. Gonzalez. And this story proves indeed that where there is a will, there is a way. This man went through, was going through college, and he observed that there were defects in the educational system. And he earnestly desired that he would correct the defects by becoming the directing head of an educational institution. He was hoping that he too could found an educational institution, become the head, and then run this institution the way he would want it, without the defects that he had noticed in the educational systems that existed at that time. And I'm sure even in our days now, we can see so many defects in the educational system. So he made up his mind to organize a new college in which he would carry out his idea. But then he needed money to do so. In his estimate, he would need $1 million. Where was he going to make this kind of, where was he going to get this kind of money from? He thought and thought and thought about it for almost 2 years, to the point that he became so obsessed with his thoughts. Imagine thinking about one thing for almost 2 years. What would have been the reaction of a normal person to say, well, there is no money. This idea is fantastic, but there is no money to carry it out. Because according to him, he was a philosopher. He knew all the principles about money. He knew about financial intelligence. Probably he had read a book like this too. I mean, within those 2 years, yeah, what am I even saying? He must have read books to say, okay, secrets to generating wealth, think and grow rich, how to make money, how to get $1 million in 2 weeks, things like that. Different motivational books like that. He had read them, but none of them could provide this $1 million that he needed. He knew all the great truths, yet he did not know where or how to lay his hands on $1 million. The natural procedure would have been to give up and quit, saying, well, my idea is a good one, but I cannot do anything with it because I can never procure the necessary $1 million. That is exactly what the majority of people would have said, and which is valid. Without money, how will your idea come to life, right? That is a logical thing to do. It is not a definite thing to do. But it is not what Dr. Gonzalo said. What he said and what he did are so important that I now introduce him and let him speak for himself. So we're going to read the next statement in this man's words himself. Now, please listen. He says, one Saturday morning, I sat in my room thinking of ways and means of raising the money to carry out my plans. For nearly 2 years, I had been thinking, but I had done nothing but think. The time had come for action. I made up my mind then and there that I would get the necessary $1 million within a week. How? I was not concerned about that. The main thing of importance was the decision to get the money within a specified time. The moment I reached that decision, a strange feeling of assurance came over me, such as I had never before experienced. Something inside me seemed to say, why didn't you reach that decision a long time ago? The money was what? The money was waiting for you all the time. Something in him said that. This began to happen in a hurry. I called the newspapers and announced I would preach a sermon the following morning entitled What I Would Do If I Had $1 million. I went to work on the sermon immediately. I must tell you frankly, the task was not difficult because I had been preparing that sermon for almost 2 years. The spirit of it was a part of me. If you think about something long enough, it becomes a part of you. It becomes real to you. It becomes like a force inside of you. Long before midnight, I had finished writing the sermon. I went to bed and slept with a feeling of confidence, for I could see myself already in possession of the $1 million. So he prayed, he had this feeling of assurance. Now, let me just summarize. He had this feeling of assurance that the money that he wanted, the $1 million, was forthcoming. He was so excited about it. He was so excited about it. And then, on the morning of the sermon, out of his excitement, he actually forgot his sermon notes at home. He was already on the pulpit when he realized he was not with his sermon notes, the sermon that he had already prepared to preach to the people. But that was like a blessing, that was a blessing in disguise for him. So instead, his subconscious mind yielded the material he needed. He closed his eyes and rendered the sermon from the bottom of his heart. He must have spoken so passionately. Don't forget that he had nursed this idea for almost 2 years. It had become a part of him. The time that it took him to prepare that sermon was just a few hours. It wasn't long. It wasn't difficult because he had done the difficult part of the task, which was thinking, nursing this idea for almost 2 years. It had become so real to him. He did not need to look for words. This was the opportunity that he was waiting for. So he rendered the sermon so passionately. And by the time it was done, a man came forward and said, "Doctor, I believe so much." Is he a doctor? If I'm not mixing him with you. Yes, it was a doctor. He said, "Doctor, I believe so much in what you said. I caught the vision. I believe that you can do what you said that you were going to do. I'm willing to drop that $1 million. The name of this man is Philip D. Armour. He said, "Come to my office to prove that I believe in you and your sermon. If you will come to my office tomorrow morning," just the next day, not month end, not a year later, the next morning, "I will give you the $1 million. My name is Philip D. Armour." Come on. Just one man. Just one man. Young Gonzalez went to Mr. Armour's office and the $1 million was presented to him. With the money, he founded the Armour Institute of Technology. That is more money than the majority of preachers ever see in an entire lifetime. Yet, the thought impulse behind the money was created in the young preacher's mind in a fraction of a minute. He thought to himself, "It is time for action." Thinking about something for 2 years, he did not take action. He was just thinking and thinking, probably reading books. Then the day he arose and said, "I will take action," he went to the newspaper. He must have paid money. So sometimes you have to pay money. Don't expect everything to come for free. Money begets money. He said, he went to the newspaper. He must have paid them. Announced, "Tomorrow morning, I'm giving a sermon." And people came. One of them was Philip D. Armour, who dropped the $1 million. Right? Observe this important fact. He got the money within 36 hours of preaching, of reaching a definite decision, 36 hours in his own mind to get it and deciding upon a definite plan for getting it. He said to himself, "I will get this money within a week." God seems to throw himself on the side of people who know exactly what they want if they are determined to get just that. Observe. Let me read this. Moreover, the principle through which Dr. Gonzalez got his $1 million is still alive. It is available to you. This universal law is as workable today as it was when the young preacher made use of it so successfully. This book describes step by step the 13 elements of this great law and suggests how they may be put to use. Observe that Asa Candler, that is the man that made Coca-Cola, and Dr. Frank Gonzalez that got $1 million in 1 week, had one characteristic in common. Both knew the outstanding truth that ideas can be transmuted into cash through the power of definite purpose plus definite plans. You have an idea, you write a plan to back it up. Then you start working on a plan. How will I get this money? There must be a plan. There must be a plan. If you are one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring you riches, perish that thought. It is not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Did you work so hard for that? Maybe, but not exactly. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands. I must get this thing. I must achieve this thing. Based upon the application of definite principles and not just by chance or luck. All right, we're approaching the end. I need to talk about this part. As simple as it may seem, an idea has no standard price. Creators of ideas make their own price, and if they are smart, they get it. Millions of people go through life hoping for favorable breaks. Perhaps a favorable break can get one an opportunity, but the safest plan is not to depend upon luck. It was a favorable break that gave me the biggest opportunity of my life, but 25 years of determined effort had to be devoted to that opportunity before it became an asset. Now, Napoleon Hill is saying that he got a favorable break when he met with Andrew Carnegie, who gave him the principles, the thoughts, the idea for this book. But then it took him 25 years of effort, of planning, of working towards it to actually get it. It didn't come by luck. All right. The last story that we're going to read is that of Heb Keller or Keliha. I'm not sure I get this right. Heb Keliha, yeah, I think that's better. One of the founders of Southwest Airlines in the United States of America. This is a good example of a seller of ideas. This guy was contacted. He was a lawyer and was contacted by this guy called Rolling King. That's all he wanted to establish an airline, because at that time only rich people could fly an airline in America, especially within Texas, and it was very, very frustrating to him. And so he called upon this lawyer, Herb Kelleher, to help him develop some plans and legal documents and, to become a part of this initiative. But they met with opposition. A rivalry airline at that time did not want them to start flying. So they took them to court. They obtained a restriction on them, for like 3 years or more, 3.5 years. So it's 3.5 years of legal battle. They could not fly. But then they did not give up. And even when they eventually started flying, in the first year, they made a loss of $3.7 million. The following year, they made another loss. In fact, the following 1.5 years, they made another loss. But they did not give up. There are some sound principles that I want us to learn from this story of Southwest Airlines, especially if you're a business person. And so they started thinking of ways, okay, they had big competitors out there. So they said, okay, they were going to increase or reduce, rather, the turnaround time that it would take to land at the airport, let passengers come out and come out of the plane, and the time that it would take for passengers to board again, it would take like 45 minutes. So they reduced that to 10. They started operating an open seat policy. You don't need a boarding pass that will have a seat number. Once you just get a paper that confirms that you're a passenger, just go into the plane, any seat you find, you sit down there, then the plane takes off and all of that. And then, because they had limited budget, they could not run any major advertisement. So they relied on words of mouth. Use your mouth if you're a business person. Tell people what you do. Tell them, let them know. If you don't have money to run adverts, even if you run adverts, still tell people. You shouldn't meet somebody as you are introducing yourself. Hello, my name is Olaide Agbaje. I'm a content creator. I'm a researcher. I'm a real estate consultant. Introduce yourself that way. Let people know what you do. Hello, I am Mr. Adekunle Udom. I am a fantastic artist. I specialize in all kinds of artistic wares, creative wares, and things like that. I'm based in Akwa Ibom in Nigeria. That is how to introduce yourself. Sell yourself. Showcase yourself. Somebody should not leave you without knowing what you do, what you're up to. Don't hide your lights. Don't say, hope they won't feel I'm too forward. No. Depends on how you say it. There's no crime in it. So they started focusing on customer service. It became their priority. They put their customers first. They were offering values to them. Remember that they've cut short the turnaround time to disembark from the train and from the plane and to board. Flight attendants were trained to give tender, loving care to the passengers. The company's slogan was, now there is somebody else up there who loves you. If you were a passenger, wouldn't you like to board such a plane? In addition, Kelleher eliminated the annoying, time-consuming methods. I've talked about that. So you go into the plane, you pick any seat, and then they take off. With passenger satisfaction as their main objective, Kelleher and his team built up a loyal following and a reputation for passenger consideration. Southwest Airlines began to climb its way up. By 1978, it was one of the country's most profitable airlines. In the early 2000s, when many airlines suffered major setbacks, some going into bankruptcy and even out of business, Southwest not only survived, but led the industry in profitability. Now, let us learn these 4 principles very quickly, and we'll stop here. Herb Kelleher gives this advice to success-minded people. Number 1, stick to your ideas. Despite the efforts of its giant competitors to keep Southwest Airlines from entering the business, a positive attitude kept them going during 3 years of court fights and no operating income. Even after the legal battle, they lost $3.7 million in the first 2.5 years, but they were not deterred. Secondly, think of what the customers want and then give it to them. Number 3, you're welcome. Overcome obstacles put in your path by taking positive steps to break them down. Even while the battle is being fought, find ways to get around them. Don't let any battle make you give up on that your fantastic dream. Number 4, and the last one, keep open to new opportunities. And when they arise, take positive steps to meet them. Success requires no explanation. Failure permits no alibis. This means that whether you are successful or you are a failure, there is no need for any explanation. There is no need. There is no need. Just accept it. Right. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of tonight's review. I hope that you grabbed something. I hope that passion has been ignited inside of you. I hope that you have a burning desire more than ever before. I hope that you're going to start writing plans about that, your ideas. You're going to start taking action so that you can bring it to life. Don't let these words, don't let these reviews just pass you by like that. Put them into action. You may be afraid, you may be scared. Do it afraid. It's okay if you fail. Failure is not the end of life. If you fail, you only know and identify how not to do it. You try again. If you fail again, try again. Somebody by the name Thomas A. Edison tried 10,000 times. Right? God bless you. I really, really want to see you succeed. And that is exactly what is going to happen. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like this live stream in case you have not liked it already. Drop all your comments in the chat box. And please subscribe to this channel in case you're yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady. And on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally. We'll meet again tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. West African time. Until then, be intentional. Bye.